It pains me to pull back the curtains and look out the window, but I need to see my family and remind myself of the consequences of bad choices. My ex-husband lives across the street, and his house has a swimming pool. I can't prevent our boys from going over there and having fun. We don't have an official visiting schedule. My ex-husband and I frequently discuss the boys' daily schedule, deciding who takes them where and when, as well as who feeds them and when. That's the extent of our conversations. I see the boys have started inviting girls. Their testosterone must be at its peak. They show off their fun dives and big splashes. It looks like it's working. The girls giggle. Girls. They are only 13 or 14 years old, but their bodies look older. I hope Liam talked to the guys. Someone might need to talk to him. This fitness instructor, since she's over 40 and considered an old lady by the boys, looks amazing in her bikini. I think of the old analogy of dental floss being bigger than what's on it. Am I exaggerating? Maybe. Am I really jealous? Yes, damn it, I'm jealous. Technically, our children live with me since I have primary custody, but I don't have a pool. They usually sleep and eat here, and most of their clothes are here. The boys are used to living in the house opposite. We were family friends with the family that used to live there, who had a boy and a girl about the same age as our boys. The children practically lived in both houses. Misty and Carl James were close to becoming surrogate parents for our children. Many believe that Misty and Carl had 4 children. Looks like we'd had a good life? Yes. So what went wrong? The answer is I became a cheater. This isn't a statement of pride. It's just a fact. Although I wasn't a cheater for very long, it was long enough to ruin my life and hurt my family. It took many therapy sessions to understand what I did, and more importantly, why I did it. Maybe sharing this will help someone prevent the suffering that happened to me and my family. I'm Susan Lawrence. I was married to Liam Lawrence. We have 2 boys, David and Eli, who are now 13 and 14 years old, respectively. I worked as an assistant editor at a publishing house. Liam managed his own security business for homes and offices. We were married for nearly 20 years, though for the first 4 years, we only dated between business trips. He was a military deputy. We met on a blind date. I was attractive enough to date myself, but Amy needed someone for her boyfriend's friend. My friend Amy was dating an MP who was trying to convince his mate Liam to join. Although Amy and her boyfriend never got married, my friendship with Liam blossomed. Knowing that he was leaving for a long time, it was necessary to urgently decide on our relationship. We wanted to make a big decision one way or another before he left. We got married. Liam and I agreed on almost everything: politics, religion, children, and fidelity. The glow of marriage kept me from temptation while I was waiting, even though I had several active suitors. Liam left again after his first 2-year stint due to a re-recruitment bonus, which greatly affected our ability to run a household. It was hard on our relationship, but we got through it. Shortly after Liam returned, we decided to have children. I worked for 4 years, and after being fired, he got a job at a security company. My firm allowed me to work from home during the latter part of my pregnancy and the first few months afterward. Soon, we had 2 babies, a year apart. Life was good. Not easy, but good. When the boys went to school, I began working more in the office. Liam's security company decided to sell its share to one of the nation's largest firms, and Liam had the idea to start his own security business. His father provided the startup money. I was scared because of the financial risk, but I believed in my husband. Liam's departure from work was amicable, and several colleagues told him to call them when his business grew enough to need more employees. We squeezed and sacrificed for about 5 years before the business really started to take off. Ironically, the impetus for the rise was increased interest in equipment that allowed people to spy on their allegedly cheating spouses. I continued to work, enjoying the job and receiving good annual raises. The editorial business was thriving since everyone seemed to have a book they needed to write. Loving to read, I cherished that my opinion was valued. I managed to improve many books, although I had to reject quite a few. Reflecting now, I've realized that this was when I began to develop a deeper appreciation for who I was in relation to my husband. Neither Liam nor I voiced any serious complaints about our lives. Our friendship, shared housework, finances, parenting, and sex life were quite satisfactory. Since everything was going so well, we settled into a routine. I didn't realize how dangerous that could be. My problem with Liam developed very gradually. By the time we started to take each other for granted, my attitude had become increasingly negative. Why am I the only one doing the dishes? How is it that he or the boys can choose where to eat? Why doesn't he ever say sweet things like he did when he was courting me? Why am I only recognized on my birthday, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and Christmas? Why do we always have sex the same way? These were some of the many ways I began to denigrate my marriage. But I asked my questions only to myself. I never brought this up with Liam. I thought that if he really loved me as much as I loved him, he would understand what was wrong. Why was it only up to me to solve our problems? My indignation grew. I became depressed, but continued to fulfill my role in the house. I had a routine that I began to perceive as a rut in which I was stuck. No one seemed to notice the change in me. For my own sake, I turned more and more to work. When I was happy with my home life, I didn't think much of the personal compliments I received at the office. Now, I sought them out and treasured them. I started dressing more provocatively. When my husband noticed the change in my wardrobe, I called it more stylish. The comments, stares, and flirting in the office increased, and I loved it. They paid more attention to me. Then I made a decision that turned my life upside down. Noah, my boss, and I were working on getting the book ready for publication. The deadline was almost impossible. We realized that we would have to work late on Thursday to be able to submit the final manuscript on Friday. One of the reasons I didn't mind working late was because Noah was one of my biggest fans and flirting partners. This did not stop him from being a handsome man, even though he was married. But damn, so was I. Don't worry. On Thursday nights, Liam orders food, which is pizza. He and the boys watch college football on Thursday night. They don't even notice whether I'm there or not. If you were my wife, I would never let you out of my sight. Forgive my double negative. His words sent a jolt through my heart. I felt flattered and excited. I stumbled over my words and said, "Thank you." Sometimes I feel like my family doesn't value me. Why did I share that with him? Please let me take you to dinner to make up for missing yours. I agreed, and we chose a place close to the office. It was a seafood restaurant, and we shared a bottle and a half of wine before deciding it was time to leave. Lunch was enjoyable. We talked about our home lives and laughed about things that only teenagers would find amusing. We both admitted to feeling a lack of spark in our relationships with our spouses. I think we both realized the risky path we were on, but we continued to follow it. Noah dropped me off at my car. It felt like a first date, so I kissed him to say thank you. The kiss lingered well beyond a simple thank you and edged close to something more intimate. When we finally pulled away, we exchanged a look that said, "What did we just do?" It was clear to both of us that this wouldn't be the last time we kissed. On the way home, thoughts of Noah, the kiss, and all the possibilities swirled in my mind. It was such a contrast to the routine of my daily life. Almost 20 years had passed since I last kissed another man, and the excitement mixed with fear. Will Liam notice how much I enjoy my time with Noah? Can I honestly say that nothing actually happened? Technically, yes, because we both had a few friends where kissing was just a part of our greetings and farewells. I stepped into the house and heard the sounds of a ball game coming from the office, where a large TV was set up. "I'm home," I called out. They shouted something back, including a question about whether I wanted pizza. "No, thank you. I had a snack at a fast food cafe," I replied. Why did I lie about this? Reflecting on it now, I realized this was the start of a psychological withdrawal that made lying to my husband seem more acceptable. I left the boys, including my husband, to play ball and headed to bed. Although it was hard to fall asleep, the thrill of Noah's kiss had finally waned. Just as I was about to drift off, Liam suddenly jumped into my bed. Hey baby, the Wildcats won. What are my chances of scoring with you tonight? My God, how old are you? I'm working tomorrow. Now leave me alone. Liam didn't respond and quietly exited the bedroom. My anger lingered for a few minutes before guilt started to creep in, realizing I had been too harsh. Despite the guilt, I couldn't bring myself to get up and apologize. Instead, I nestled into the pillow, wishing to see Noah in my dreams. I had to grasp that once you embark on the path of deception, your behavior inevitably shifts with loved ones who trust you. The next morning, waking up a bit late, I noticed no indication that Liam had slept in our bed. Entering the guest room, I found he had spent the night there. Rushing downstairs to make breakfast for the boys, I saw them already eating at the kitchen table. "Hello, Mom. Dad told me to let you sleep. He cooked us breakfast before leaving for work." I headed for a cup of coffee, feeling the exhaustion from working late the previous day. As I sipped, I found myself internally justifying the time spent away from home, even though no one had questioned me about it. It felt like a mental battle between a prosecutor and a defense attorney. Soon, the boys were out the door, waiting for the bus, and I finished getting ready for work. I deliberately chose one of my older, more conservative outfits, trying to make amends for how I've been soliciting extramarital attention from Noah lately. I felt like I had to hide what I had done, and a less sexy dress would help. I avoided Noah until my meeting with the senior editor at 11 Woo. Noah and I presented the manuscript we finished last night. The editor had several questions, and our meeting continued into the lunch hour. It was only natural for Noah and me to go to lunch together. I had a feeling about what was coming when Noah picked the restaurant at the Golden Tree Hotel, known as one of the finest in town. We bent a company rule by having wine with our meal. For the first hour, our conversation was mainly about business. As it got closer to the time to return to the office, Noah remarked that we probably shouldn't go back with wine on our breath. With my agreement, he called the office to inform them we wouldn't be returning today. After he hung up, I asked, "So what are we going to do with the rest of the day?" Wearing a conservative dress didn't prevent the cheater within from emerging. Is wine responsible for everything? Why don't we continue what we started last night in one of the rooms? This was the moment of truth. It felt like I was floating outside my body, watching the promiscuous woman in my place respond, "Okay." My out-of-body self recognized that I had just consented to commit adultery, and I went through with it. I suspected he hoped to change my mind later. Maybe he was right. I wasn't entirely sure myself. As we stepped out of the elevator, I felt certain that everyone was staring at me, aware of what had transpired. I quickly made my way to his car, then gratefully reached mine, parked at work. That's when the tears started. I cried and sobbed over my recklessness. I had betrayed my husband and jeopardized my marriage. I endangered my family's future, all for the sake of some mediocre sex with another man. After crying, I went home. Unsure of what to do, I arrived earlier than usual and busied myself with household chores. I needed something, anything, to distract me from what I had done. Keeping Liam in the dark was essential. I had to save my marriage and pretend nothing had happened. But I was only deceiving myself. The moment Liam walked in, I burst into tears. "Sue, what's the matter? What's happened? Are the boys okay?" I asked, feeling a surge of worry. Between sobs, I blurted out, "I'm the one who got into trouble." "Have you lost your job? Got into an accident?" you asked, trying to stay calm. "Now, I'm sure this is something we can figure out together. It can't be that bad." "Yes, maybe. Liam, I slept with another man," I confessed. As I reached out to Liam for a hug, he backed away. "What?" he exclaimed. "I had sex with another man. I do not love him. I love only you. Please forgive me." "This will never happen again," I pleaded. His neck flushed red with hives, a clear sign of his extreme stress. "I need to get out of here for a while. Do not call me. Please do not leave me. I'll just die. If I stay, you might die." Liam made his way to the door, and his words sent a chill down my spine. His experience and skills could easily be used for murder. Physically, it would be effortless for him. I fed the boys and let them cross the street to swim with their friends. I didn't even bother calling Carl and Misty since our children had a standing invitation to both houses. During this time, I focused on figuring out how to convince Liam not to divorce me. When the boys got home and Liam still hadn't returned, I informed them that he had been called to work security out of town and might not come back that evening. They accepted my explanation and went to bed, staying up to play video games since there was no school the next day. Meanwhile, I lay awake, my mind racing with thoughts like, what should I do if I become a single mother? And will Liam want to get even or take revenge? And will he try to do something to Noah? Damn, I wasn't considering Noah's wife and kids. Of course, Liam won't harm children. Explaining why Liam didn't come home all weekend was challenging for me. Luckily, the boys spent most of their time playing with other children. During this period, Liam seemed to have realized that Noah was my lover. After Noah and I worked together late on Thursday night, Liam appeared at our office on Monday and requested to see Noah. I didn't go to work on Monday because of my ongoing anxiety. Noah later informed me that Liam appeared calm. Liam had expressed his desire to apologize for his wife's attempt to seduce Noah and hoped it wouldn't create any issues that might affect my future work. Noah, feeling reassured, told Liam that it wouldn't be a problem. This was all Liam needed to validate his theory. Liam pointed out that after Noah's wife divorced him, Liam would divorce me. Liam was at Noah's house when Noah called his wife from the hospital. Noah had hoped to prepare his wife first, but Liam had already taken care of that. She assured Noah not to worry about coming back home. The police arrived at Noah's house and arrested Liam without any resistance. He was taken to jail on charges of aggravated assault. I went to see Liam in jail and offered to post his bail. He refused, stating that it was time for each of us to learn to take care of ourselves. I asked, "What about the boys?" He replied, "You should have thought about this before you decided to cheat. I had to live with it while I was growing up. It won't be easy for them, but I managed. Don't worry, they have the strength to do it." This was an aspect of Liam's home life that I had been completely unaware of. Liam pleaded guilty. He tried to prevent his public defender from using Noah and my infidelity as a mitigating factor. He didn't mind going to prison. He was sentenced to 18 months, but served only 6. These past 6 months, what actually led to our formal divorce was Carl being transferred to another state. Their house was put up for sale, and our children were devastated. This seemed to stress the boys out more than the problems Liam and I were having. At first, I didn't realize how this situation affected Liam. The first indication of his decision was when he filed for divorce and served me in my office. At that time, Noah was also in the midst of divorce proceedings with his wife. I didn't receive any warning from Liam. The petition had mentioned adultery, although it was only relevant in a divorce for resolving custody issues. He just wanted to put everything in its place. I wasn't that upset. My adultery was a fact. His next move became clear when the for sale sign disappeared from Carl and Misty's house. I walked over, hoping it meant they would stay. That's when I discovered they had sold the house to Liam. I understood everything. It was the perfect solution for Liam. He would see his boys as often as he and they wanted until I objected or sold our house and moved. I will still be their mother with primary custody. He was willing to help me with alimony and child support, plus support for household expenses. Allowing me to see him and the boys so often in his house was his revenge on me. Clever man. Until he gets married again, I decided to let him know that I am not dating anyone. I will continue to be flexible with the boys. I won't put pressure on him. Lately, he has started joining us for lunch on occasion. I suspect one reason is his lack of cooking skills. I hope another reason is his longing for the past. Our dinners are beginning to feel like old family gatherings again, which gives me hope. Objectively, some might argue that I have no grounds for complaint. Despite being unfaithful, I ended up with the house, child support, and primary custody of the children. Numerous women suggested he should be more lenient, considering it was just one mistake on my part. Others advised me to resist when he requested more time with his boys than the legal agreement required. To these advisors, I simply said, "Go to hell."